Alright, looks like I managed to play around the double drill possibility. That, or, well, he just didn't have a paladin. He may still have double drill, but he definitely doesn't have a paladin. So that's awesome. I'm now even further ahead because my gamble paid off. So he's down to 2 paladins, and he's down to 1 sword. And I have 2 swords left, and a ton of consumables to deal with them. A little low on units, actually, which is a little concerning. So there's the play here is to try and save the chieftain. Not so much to actually save the chieftain, but to force him to stomp it to give me rage. And the best way to do that is to move the axe thrower out in front and then heal it up like so, because he has to spend 1 AP killing that, and then he's going to give this axe thrower rage, which could kill the grenadier in 1 shot if he doesn't do something. So he'll probably have to like deploy an engineer and shield it, but even then he's going to have to retreat to the corner. So be like attack, move. That's 2. Move back. So he actually can't shield it and move back to the corner. He can't stomp, shield, and move to the corner. So it's just a tricky position for him. I'm not exactly sure how he's going to end up dealing with it to try and kill this chieftain and save this grenadier here. If you kill this grenadier, the game's pretty much over because you'll have no swords left. You only have 3 offensive units left, and I'll just all I'll have to do from there is kind of turtle up and let him come to my side of the board, and then I'll tidal wave his units, and especially once I get the annihilator down, it's gonna be pretty over. But yeah, there's one possibility that I need to play around though, that is concerning, and that is if he basically goes full YOLO and goes either here or here, and then scroll attacks this shaman and then drills this shaman. He could basically KO both of them. And he might consider this play because he's so far behind that he might feel like he needs to make a big play in order to win. And it would actually be a good play in this situation because I don't have my third shaman. So there's no need to put myself in a risk for that kind of play. So instead of doing the previous move, I'm going to do a slight variation of it where I just move the shaman up here instead of here, so that the AoE from the grenadier won't clip this shaman, and that way he won't be able to kill them both in a single turn. It does leave this shaman more vulnerable, but he can't kill and stomp everything, and whatever he leaves alive is just going to kill him. Yeah, like even if he were to come down here and then scroll kill this axe thrower and then stomp it, I could move this shaman back, tidal wave, meat attack onto the grenadier, which would be here, and then move up to the train tile to stomp it. So like pretty much any combination of units he leaves alive can deal with his grenadier pretty fine. And so this forces a lot of pressure on him. I think he'll probably figure out some way to deal with this. Also, since he doesn't have a paladin, this axe thrower right now can 3-shot this grenadier because he has no shield. So he's got to deal with that too. Probably the best way to deal with it is just to shield the grenadier. But he's only got so many moves. Like I think maybe his exact move could be like attack, stomp, move back here. That's 3 though. And then shield. Well, yeah, I don't know. Like here, here. Yeah, I think he has to move to like this corner and shield. Otherwise, he's risking me being able to KO his grenadier with my axe thrower. And that's probably a gamble I'd take because I know now he has enemy paladins. And if he deploys only 1 engineer, he'd only turn 1 card. Anyway, there's a lot of speculation. That's pretty unnecessary. We'll deal with that next turn. We've already figured out what our move is. So let's just go for it. Okay, he's cleaning up here. All right, so that's along the veins that I expected. He basically had to shield the Grenadier to keep it safe from the Tribal Rage. But he only turned one card, and I know he didn't have a Paladin last turn. So we've got some decisions to make here about how we want to go on the offensive here. Obviously, we're going to be attacking in some capacity, as we've had a free unit kind of presented to us in the Engineer. But we'd really love to get that Grenadier. He's the big juicy target sitting out there, and he's also the last sword that he has. So if I can bring that down, that's really going to cripple his offense, and it's almost game-ending. Nothing's game-ending when there's an Annihilator on the board, but like it's pretty crippling to have all your swords off the table, especially considering all the spike shielded units that are going to be coming out later this game, because I still have yet to draw my first one. So let's figure out what we're going to do here. There's a few moves that we can do, and I'm going to call them good, better, and best, and I'm not going to tell you which ones are which. I'm just going to give you the 3 moves, and you can decide how you would rank them. So let's go with the first move. All right, let's move 1. Let's move 2. Move 3 probably looks something like this, along that vein. Oh, I don't want to submit that yet. Holy cow. Don't press that button. Okay. So those are the 3 options that I'm considering here. And now let's think about how we want to decide between them. Now, let's go with the riskiest move first, because I think this is pretty clearly the riskiest move. Because if he has a Paladin, then he can deploy the Paladin here. So that's 1. Heal the Grenadier, which is 2. Attack this Axerar once. That's 3. And that would bring it under half health, and he'd be able to move the Engineer back down here, which would send the train down, which would stomp. So that's 4. And then he could beer the Grenadier for 5. And that would basically just cost me my Axe Thrower straight up. But if he doesn't have a Paladin, then this is a really great trade, because I'm trading an Axe Thrower. He'd be able to take out the Axe Thrower with the Engineer next turn. He'd be trading an Axe Thrower for his +3 Grenadier, which would be really, really great. So in order to evaluate this, we need to take a look at what are the odds that he drew one of his remaining 2 Paladins last turn, because he only turned 1 card, and we know he didn't have a Paladin before that. All right, because there's a good chance he would have tried to deploy it. It's actually not guaranteed that he would have deployed the Paladin 2 turns ago, but I think it's really likely that he didn't have one. And he didn't turn any cards last round. So this round he turned 1. So let's do our math. So before he played the Engineer, he had 16 cards in his deck, 6 of which were in his hand. Now, he played the Engineer, so that brought him down to 15 cards with 5 in his hand. And he draws a card from the 15. And his chance, well, it's just really simple then. It's 2 out of 10, right? Because he has he's got 10 cards left in his deck, because five of his 15 are still in his hand, so we can exclude those because he can't draw the same card that he's got in his hand already. So he's got 10 cards to draw from, 2 of which are paladins, so what's the chance of drawing it? 20%. So that's pretty good odds. But what's the downside? Well, the downside is that he has good tempo, because now I would only have the 2 shamans on the board. You have a grenadier with the beer, and I'm starting to run low on units. I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attacking units left, and he has both scrolls and both drills, and theoretically it could get to a position where if he is able to get pickoffs with his power items, I could potentially run out of units. Tribe is also better with more units on the board because the chain heal can go out further. You chain your heals between your units, but if you have less units, then you have less map position because you can't chain, you can't extend your units out as far on the board and still be able to heal them. So that's something that we want to be wary of. And even though it's a 20% chance, the downside to that 20% chance is potentially very threatening. And so with a strong position like I have now, if we play evenly the rest of the game, I'm going to win pretty comfortably. I don't even think I need to take a gamble this bad where I give him a 20% chance of winning, because I think that my chances of winning as is are substantially greater than 80%. So this is giving him kind of better odds back into the game, even though the odds are still stacked heavily in my favor. So let's reconsider that one if our other options don't turn out as promising. So let's evaluate this move next. This move is nice because it just takes a unit for free, and it pops the bubble in this grenadier, and then it turns more cards for me. This is a slow play, and there's really nothing wrong with this play. I'm still in a really strong position, which is going to threaten this this grenadier because the axe thrower can still bring it down in 3 shots, and I'm likely to get the engineer for free. He's likely not to be able to heal it. It's a fine move. It just kind of kicks the can down the road a little bit. So I think this is pretty clearly better than the other move. But let's look at the last move as well before we just jump on any conclusions. Now here's the last move. It involves tidal waving this grenadier up. Now what's the difference here? Well, it's going to take him an extra AP to heal up this grenadier, because in the first scenario where the grenadier was here, he could just deploy the paladin here on his deploy tile and heal it immediately. But now, since he's been moved up to the train tracks, the paladin has to be deployed here and then move up to either that square or onto the attack tile, most likely, in order to get healed up. And sometimes 1 AP is the difference between feasible and non-feasible. So that's the only way he can heal. So he's going to have to spend 2 AP if he wants to heal. Obviously, if he doesn't have a paladin, this is a moot point. But we always want to consider the worst case scenario when we're thinking about what moves we're going to play. Because generally, if your opponent's skilled enough, he's going to find the best case scenario for him. So you're pretty much always going to be dealing with the worst case scenario, depending on whether he has the cards he needs or whatnot. But we don't like gambling if we can avoid it. So paladin here, moves here, and heals on the 3rd AP. So now, this is his best case scenario, by the way. So now his grenadier is alive, and he's got a paladin on the attack tile, hypothetically. And this grenadier has like, he's going to have like 150, I think, because the paladin, it's actually a little more because the paladins get a little bonus. Dwarves get a little extra bonus from the power tiles. So I think it would end up being like 160. or maybe even, no, it would be like 330. I forget. I think they get like an extra 10%. So 330 attack, but when you revive it, it goes in half. So he would be like with like 165 HP. All right, so we got a 165 HP Grenadier here. And then what? Well, the obvious thing would be to beer and then move him away. Certainly needs to beer to get him up to full life. So let's say he beers. He beers the Grenadier with his 4th AP, and then moves him up here to the top right corner. Well, interestingly enough, even in that scenario, I will kill the Grenadier next turn and stomp it. Even with the beer, because the way the math works, the beer is going to bring him back to 880 HP. He doesn't have a shield on. So 880. And then what would my next move be? I'd move up here with my axe thrower. I would attack him once. Now he's going to have plus 50% physical resistance from the Gerati, right? From the beer. And he would have 5% extra from the paladin being adjacent to it, because the paladin's on the attack tile, remember? So 55% resistance. So what's my attack going to do? My attack's going to do 45% times 400. Because the axe thrower is going to get the 200 extra damage for being attacking a high health unit. So what's that end up being? Handy dandy Google calculator go. Ends up being 180. All right. So 180. Well, what's 880 minus 180? Well, 700. That's pretty easy, right? Okay, so now after 2 AP, he's down to 700. Well, what sort of damage can an axe thrower do when it's meated? Turns out an axe thrower does 750 damage. Because when the axe thrower is meated, the base attack goes to 550. But 700 HP is more than half, so I'm going to get that extra 200 bonus damage. So that's 750 damage that it's going to do. Now he still has that 5% bonus from being next to the paladin, so 750 times 0.95 is 712.5, which is more than 700. So that means when I move this axe thrower up and I attack, and then I meet attack again with APs 3 and 4, that's going to actually KO this Grenadier, and then I can just move my axe thrower right on top of it to stomp him. And that's it. That's his best move. There is no possible better move that he can pull off in order to try and save this Grenadier. So by using this tidal wave, I actually guarantee that even in the worst case scenario, it is impossible for him to save this Grenadier. And that is value. I can remove all chance from the equation. It is impossible for him to save it. So this is clearly the best move. He will force out a meet, but a tidal wave and a meet in an axe thrower for a +3 Grenadier is absolutely worth it, especially when it's his last sword. Because after this, I can spend a lot of time developing, and it's going to be hard for him to move out. He's only going to have mostly unupgraded units. He's probably going to put his last defensive upgrades on his Annihilator and try to make some magic happen. But Annihilators attacking into spike shields it's just a hard life. So we went a little in depth on this move. I'm not exactly sure how he'll play it out. It depends a lot on whether he has the Paladin, whether he tries to save the Grenadier and force the meat out of me in exchange for the beer. He may just take this axe thrower. Another thing he might do is he might move this engineer up and actually attack this shaman, and then go ahead and stomp it with the train, which he might try to go all in and take out my healers because he's so far behind. That's also an option for him. In which case, I basically need to put units on the map as fast as possible so that I can draw into my last shaman. That way, in case he tries to drill this shaman, I'll be able to revive it. But that's like the only danger, is that somehow I start losing my shamans. And even then, he's only got 2 paladins. So even that, it's hard to imagine that working out for him. But anyway, I think I've said enough here, so let's go for it. Shaman. Tidal Wave. All right, Tidal Wave's not bad. I can't believe I have not drawn a Spike Shield, though. I'm through getting close to like 2/3 of my deck, I think. And I've still not drawn a single Spike Shield. I have 4 of them. But getting the last Tidal Wave is nice, in case the Annihilator presents himself, which would allow me to take it out, because the Annihilator is the only unit I'm scared of now. Nothing else matters. The Gunners can't hurt me. All right, let's have a look here. So it looks like he didn't have a Paladin. That, or he realized that it was futile to try and heal up the Grenadier. So he's gone with the Shaman play. It's a little bit annoying, because now I have to protect my Shamans for the rest of the game. And he's got 2 drills left, and I've only got 2 Shamans left. But he's got 2 Paladins left too, so it's not the end of the world. And he has no Grenadiers left, which is particularly nice on this map. So what I need to do is I need to kill this engineer, and then I need to turn as many cards as possible so that I can try and draw into my last shaman as quickly as possible. And he's going to have no units on the board, so he's going to be starting fresh. So I'm going to end up with a nice tempo advantage from this, as well as a massive material advantage. Yeah, I still have 3 meats and a Tidal Wave and all 4 Spike Shields to deal with all of his non-sorted units for the rest of the game. So this is a situation where, as long as I don't make a stupid mistake, it should be a relatively safe, but I just need to play it right. So let's kill this engineer. We can use the correct combination here to get it in 300. And so obviously I'm going to play these 2. I need to decide where they're going to go exactly. There's actually another move that's available to me. Or I could go like this and kill him that way. Something like that, and be more aggressive. It's a good move if he doesn't have his Annihilator, but if he does, then it's not that great, because he could come and deploy the Annihilator here, and then go down to the square, and then just hit my X throw 3 times, and well, I guess it might not be that bad. That's he has to have the Annihilator in order for that to work, which like 40% chance. Although it's actually better than a 40% chance, because we know he doesn't have any of the Paladins, so it's pretty much a straight 50-50 as to whether he has the Annihilator in hand. I feel like he doesn't, though, because 3 turns ago he chose to KO my chieftain by moving his Grenadier to the attack tile, if you recall that move. But if he had the Annihilator in hand, he could have just deployed it here and moved it to the attack tile and killed it with the same number of AP. And it would have been equally as good for him, and he would have had another unit on the board. So I kind of feel like he doesn't have it. So maybe this is better. The alternate play. So here's the details of why I need to make this play. I want to block direct access to my shaman. So I need to cover up one of these two squares. Because otherwise, let's say that he has the Annihilator, hypothetically. We don't know for sure, but he may not have played it in that other situation for some reason that we don't understand. Or he thought he couldn't keep it alive or whatever. Who knows what the reason could be. So he brings the Annihilator out here. Goes 1, 2. Well, this would be 3 actually. So it would be 2, 3. And then scroll kills my shaman as a really it's obviously a very all-in gamble. You know, when you're in a situation like he is where you're way behind, sometimes all-in gambles are what you need to take. So I don't even want to deal with that. Maybe I draw a shaman with these 2 cards that I'm turning, maybe I don't. So I just need to block one of these squares so that he can't do that, because then he'd have to scroll kill one of these guys instead, whoever I put here. Now I can do it this way. Or I can do it this way. I kind of like this move more though, because it's more the XR is in a more aggressive position, and I want to be trading as tribe. You just want to be trading. If he does have the Annihilator, then again he's got to come up here and spend 3 AP killing it, and that means he's not spending all his AP killing my shaman, for example, or what have you. So there's also the potential counterplay in that scenario where I move up and heal, and then move the X-Thrower forward and meat attack, and meat attack will kill the Annihilator in 1 hit. And then it's a small gamble to see whether he draws a Paladin, but at that point it might be worth it. So I'm going to go with this, and we're going to see how it turns out. Oh, I drew the shaman. Okay, we are in golden shape right now. I do not want to play the shaman because I kind of want to bait him into having a suicidal play on my last shaman, and I might be able to kind of trick him into making a really stupid play. So we're just going to hang on to that. I've had some really good draws this game, honestly, and we'll kind of see what he puts on the board, since he's got a blank slate to start with, which is lovely for me. Okay, let's take a look at this move here. Well, that's not too exciting. Looks like he hasn't drawn his Annihilator yet. Otherwise, he probably would have played that. I wonder if he still doesn't have a Paladin. In this situation, you might not play a Paladin, because if he had a Paladin, though, like he could have played the Engineer here and the Paladin here, and then bubbled. Yeah, but then that would still be risky, because then I could go to here and KO the Paladin in 3 shots. Well, it's sort of hard to know what he has in his hand because I'm threatening so much, and so he may be scared of playing some things. So I'm not going to really worry about what he has in his hand because I've got a big lead. Because obviously there's the possibility of doing a play like this. Actually, that play would be stupid, but this play would be fine. Where I could probably trade this Xer for a Gunner, but if he has a Paladin, he could go 1, heal, scroll kill, or drill, probably scroll, and then beer the Gunner. And I mean, it's a scroll and a beer for an axe thrower, which is not bad. It'd be 2 for 1 for me, but it's just not that inspiring because I am low on units and I've got all these spike shields, and I want to be in a position where I have lots of units to spread my spike shields around that can be offensive. So taking a gamble on this gunner, I mean, it's okay, but there's no need to take silly gambles, in my opinion. Especially when there's perfectly good plays out there, and I need to draw into stuff. So I think a better play is to put some units out on the board. And I was thinking something like this. This gets both shamans out on the board so that they're well protected. Got to keep these guys alive. Be very careful about that. The more units I have on the board, the further I can extend safely, force him to give me range, and then from there I've got all these consumables in my hand, and I need to get the spike shields out because these bubbles are annoying. But as soon as I get a spike shield out, then he can't attack into me really without dealing with the bubbles, and all I need to do is kill his last two gunners and the annihilator, and this game is over. So we're just going to play conservative here. Turn 2 cards, establish a strong board position, and we'll set up for more damage next turn. And this axe thrower is still in a really aggressive position where he can potentially do a lot of damage. So lots of possibilities here. Come on, spike shields. Wow. All 4 of my spike shields are in the last 7 of my deck. That is crazy. I know, that's unbelievable. Normally that'd probably be a good thing. In most matchups, that's a good thing that they'd be buried. But I do have my chieftain out and a sword, so that's gravy. Those 2 items are going on each other next round, and we'll just get him in an aggressive position, and there's going to be it's just going to be very hard to deal with the chieftain bomb. He may have to double drill the chieftain, and even then I will have a sorted unit left, so this is going great. All right, here we go. Well, it's got another passive move here. Interesting move to pre-scroll the gunner. I'm not sure entirely what the case is there. And then he actually swapped. So I think he's probably looking for his annihilator because he wants to put the shield and the scroll, or sorry, the shield and the helm on the annihilator. Otherwise, he would have put it on the units that he has out already. It must mean he had both beers in his hand. Otherwise, I don't see a need to swap there. But he's pinned back really hard, and his only chance really is to try and go after my shamans, I think. Because I have a lot more units than him. He's only got 3 attacking units left, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 attacking units left. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that's 7 attacking units left. Math is hard. As well as 2 swords to his none. So really, the only way he's ever going to win is if he is able to kill my healers and then somehow like turtle up. So I basically just have one goal, and that is to not let him kill all my healers. The other thing I want to do this turn is I'm still trying to draw cards to get into my spike shields, because otherwise these gunners are going to be a little obnoxious with their bubbles. The good news is that if I turn 2 cards this round, surely I will draw into one, considering that 4 out of my last 7 cards are spike shields. And maybe I can get one on this chieftain here. Really what I want to do is I want to make sure that if he ever comes out from behind these ranks here, that I can threaten him no matter where he goes, and that we're trading 1 for 1 as far as units go, or if he's spending consumables that he has to give me rage. And the reason I want rage is because I want to set up for this chieftain. Because if he gives me rage, I get a huge chieftain bomb off. It's just going to be really hard for him to do anything. And I actually do want to bring this shaman up. Even though it damages this warrior here, it's actually okay. One of the main reasons that this is nice is because if he deploys the Annihilator next turn, the Annihilator can't really bounce any of my units around too much with the splash damage. The main target could be like this switch, which would move my shaman back and my warrior over there. But for an entire wasted turn, like you'd have to deploy and then move up here and then move up here and then attack once and then move back. In which case, I would just kill the Annihilator with the Axe Thrower, and we'd just be done with it. So, not too worried about that. This Axe Thrower being up front is really, really nice. And now, if he stomps any of my units, well, I've got the Chieftain here. One thing to keep in mind is that he can actually take down this Shaman if he's willing to spend both drills on it. That would be pretty insane, but it's an option for him. But if he does that, I can just retreat my last Shaman into this corner, and my Chieftain will carry the day from there. So I'm not too worried about that possibility, because he's just going to have a hard time killing all my units if I go for like an all-out assault. So if he only has 3 attacking units left, so if he's spending like 1 to kill this Shaman, he's out of drills, so he'd have to get up close to get to this one, and he can't really extend to the map because I've got the tidal wave that can pull any units out on the map into me, as well as 3 meats, 1 for each of his remaining attacking units. So really, as long as I don't blunder in a terrible, terrible way, this one's on lockdown for me. But I'm kind of inviting him to make a move and fortifying my position. Because obviously the longer this game goes on without either of us taking damage, the better it's going to be for me, because he's going to have more units to protect. So long as I just don't do something stupid where I end up giving away a Shaman for free or for too cheap. Yeah, I think done everything I need to do here. Hey, there's the spike shields. All right. Great, so certainly probably one of them will go on this warrior. Maybe I'll heal it up next turn. Definitely one's going on this chieftain. Maybe even on the shamans potentially, to just dissuade him from going all out. I'm not sure yet. I'll figure it out. Plenty of good options here. Oh my. Well, this is going to be a fun turn. I think I've spent the last few turns developing my position, and he's kind of turtled up in the back. But I think now is the time to really seal the deal. I could spend another turn putting on some spike shields and whatnot, and you'd probably play as Annihilator, do some things, but I think it's go time. To really drive the nail in the coffin here. How do we approach this move? Well, we want to look at what are some high efficiency plays that can be hard to deal with. We want to set up some threats, and we want to think about our victory conditions so that we can be careful with setting up our threats to make sure that they actually will lead to a victory condition that will end the game. So first, let's start off by thinking about efficiency. So there's one little piece of efficiency that was real blatant as an offering, and that is this engineer here. Because I spend 4 AP, 1 to move forward, and 3 to attack the engineer, and I get 4 AP in return, because I get the bubble taken off this paladin and the engineer KO'd. So that's really nice. Now, the problem is that this axe thrower, the problem is for him. This axe thrower is still totally healable. All I have to do is move this warrior forward 1 square, and I can heal it from KO with my shaman on the entire other side of the board. And this is the strength of Tribe. You have lots of units, so you can chain together to be completely on the other side of the map, but you can bring them back to life in very aggressive positions. So this is really playing to Tribe's strength here. Now, the other thing that we want to take advantage of is the Tribal Rage. This Axe Thrower is probably going to die. He's probably going to get... If he gets KO'd, then I'll heal him, but he's probably going to get stomped. It's just the way things go. But that's okay. We want him to get stomped, because if he gets stomped, then what is he going to do? He's going to give the big bad chieftain rage. And this is going to set off our win conditions, because he's got 2 paladins here, and if I can KO him, if I can KO them both, the game ends. Period. Like full stop. Game ends. And there exists a move on the board from which I can get both of these paladins. Assuming that this chieftain is raged, if I go 1, 2, tidal wave everything up, which will bring the paladin up to this square here, and it'll bring this paladin here, and it will open up the attack tile, which I will then move to with my 4th move, and then all I have to do is set off the chieftain bomb. And how much damage does a raged, sworded, meated attack tile chieftain do? Well, it's a lot. I think the actual math is 600 times... Is that right? I think it might even be more than that. What's so base raged is 450 with sword. So yeah, so 600 times 2.75 is 1650. And I may not even be doing the math right. It may actually be more than that if I recall. But anyway, it's a lot. It's a lot of damage. It's enough to annihilate all units. You may say, but Elagatua, what about the bubbles? What if he puts a bubble on his paladin? Well, good thing you asked. If he puts a bubble and you kill the engineer that created the bubble in the same turn, or sorry, in the same move as you do damage to another unit that the bubble's on, the bubble pops before the damage is dealt. And we can actually prove this just through experimentation here. So let's say this is just to show you the mechanics. I'm obviously not going to do this move. But so I brought this engineer down to 15 life. And now I'm going to attack this bubbled paladin. Now, what do you think is going to happen? Is this paladin going to take any damage from my attack? Oops, I'm stupid. I have to attack the engineer. Yeah, okay. That was anticlimactic. So, little caveat there. You have to attack the engineer. It has to be the first to be KO'd. But then you see the paladin takes the splash damage, even though it was bubbled. Because apparently the engineer dies first, and so that triggers the bubbles to pop, and then the rest of the guys take damage afterwards, and that's the order. But apparently if you kill the paladin, if you attack the paladin first, it doesn't take damage. I didn't even know that. That's kind of cool. I learned something new. But anyway, the reason that this matters in the first place is this engineer here. Let's say I get my chieftain onto the attack tile here, and one of these paladins has a bubble from this engineer. Now we know that the engineer up in the top corner has bubbled this gunner, but hypothetically, if one of these paladins was bubbled instead, the chain from the chieftain bomb would KO the engineer up here, allowing the fatal damage to carry through to the paladins. So that's why we don't have to really worry about that. That's kind of what I'm going for. There's also some other variations on this. I don't think he has any good plays out of this. There's another play where he can KO this axe thrower, and then and then not stop it and try to heal up the engineer, in which case I can go here and heal, and then attack twice with the witch and corpse explode the gunner. And then he has to stop my axe thrower the next turn. Some other moves that he could try. He could try to double drill this chieftain, in which case can actually move my axe thrower onto the attack tile and KO both his paladins that way. Although that's a little dangerous because it's leaving my shamans exposed. If he made that play, I'd probably just take his gunner and say, okay, now you have no drills, and I'll put spike shields and everything. The only other thing that I need to consider here, if I force out any consumables on this axe thrower, that's fine too. Really, the threat is he has to figure out a way to like not stop my axe thrower. But one thing I could think of is putting him here. The risk, though, is that he's down to 8 items. Probably has the Annihilator in hand. Probably drew it this round. And he could play it here, attack once, and then move up to stomp. I don't know if that'd actually save him or not. Yeah, he has a lot of ways to try and deal with this. I don't think any of them are really good, but really the Chieftain Bomb is what we're going to invest into. And that's what's going to allow us to do the fatal damage. And if for some reason he invests a lot of attack items into dealing with the Chieftain Bomb, I'm going to be left with a +2, probably +2 axe thrower, running around, chopping things down. Okay, I think we've done everything we need to here. Let's give it a go. Hey, a third spike shield. All the spike shields hiding in the bottom of my deck.